Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Though we got a lot to talk about here regarding USC. Some what I would say surprise transfer portal departures. I'll say this on the flip side though. I've been keeping tabs on the names that are entering the portal from programs across the country. I got some names that are fun names that I think would be really good fits for USC going into 2026. So we're going to start with the names that have departed. I want to have a little conversation regarding the Chad Bowden strategy, the Chad Bowden blueprint in terms of how he wants to manage the portal. I'll say this still, there were some. I was curious is the best way to say. I was curious in regards to how Chad Bowden would operate in this winter portal window. I think we are getting our answer. Like, even though they signed the number one class of the high school ranks in 2026, Chad Bowden's going to make moves in the portal. That has become very clear over the last couple of days, specifically with some of these departures, because the feedback that you are getting is, I don't know if USC, it's fair to say USC's pushing some of these names out, but I do think they're trying to free up some roster spots and some capital to go make some moves in the portal. I want to talk about the names that have left. I want to talk about some names that intrigue me from across the country. Before we get into it, as always, to the USC fans, man, many of y'all know that this stuff fires me up, especially when it's Chad Bowden, because I am so fascinated to see how he goes about his business building this USC roster. Love talking roster construction. We gonna have a lot to talk about over the next couple of weeks and really next couple of month and a half, you might say. Y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Let it rip in the comment section, because I think there are some different takes about these departures that could be had. Appreciate you guys. And of course, a thank you to the USC fans. Man, there's just not many fan bases that rock with the boys like the USC fans. So we appreciate you guys. Dill, I apologize for the long intro here. I want to put you on the spot. Here are the three names that maybe surprised me the most. Matai at linebacker. That's probably the biggest surprise for me. You got defensive lineman Carlin Jones, and you got offensive lineman Micah Benuelos. I'll put you on the tee box here. What's the name that surprises you the most that is leaving USC in the portal?
It's honestly really only Matai, and I kind of get it to an extent, because that is a linebacker room. It's really young, and I don't know, maybe Matai's looking out like Desmond Stevens going to be there for a couple more years. Jaden Walker, I thought, turned it on and looked like a guy that you'd feel comfortable playing. Tamir Robinson was typically playing over Matai, so it does feel like maybe a younger and maybe crowded room, but he is still the one that surprises me, because I would have thought like year 2, year 3, he'd really be pushing.
That is the surprise for me too, because I wasn't all that surprised that he did not play a ton as a freshman. We knew when this kid committed to USC out of high school, there was some work that needed to be done in terms of putting on the adequate weight before you're playing backer in the Big Ten. Year 2, I thought that was going to happen. And year 2, quite frankly, I would not have been surprised if this kid was a starting linebacker.
I don't mean to overstate, like, I don't feel like USC's linebacker room right now is unplayable, if you will. Like, a really good linebacker could come in and push for playing time, and I would have thought he'd have had a shot.
Well, so I guess this is what I'm getting from it. Whether this is right or not, this is how I'm looking at it. I think USC's planning on grabbing 1 or 2 linebackers that are going to come in and provide immediate value. Because the way I look at it, we weren't consistent enough at off-ball linebacker. Desmond Stevens continues to show flashes, but does not play a consistent brand of football. Jaden Walker, I think, is going to start, and I think has a chance to be a ball player for USC in 2026. Tamir Robinson did not get on the football field all that much. Does this tell you a little bit about Talanoa and the plan that USC might have for him? Is he going to be a guy that's ready to contribute as a freshman? Because I'll say this, USC freaking loves this cat. And they were all
physically, like, unlike Matai, like Talanoa, he's coming in very physically kind of ready, if you will. If he can get like mentally there and they can have him ready, physically, he's kind of got it right now.
Yeah, my takeaway is this one stings because I was excited to see what year 2 is going to look like. If I'm reading through the tea leaves, we got some confidence in Talanoa, and I think we're going to go out. And I got a name that we're going to talk about that would make a heck of a lot of sense for USC in 2026. I'm not surprised about Micah. With guys like Brett Kolajay coming in, I think Brett Kolajay would be higher on the depth chart for USC in 2026 than Micah. I don't think he played bad for USC by any means, especially as a guy that was forced to play due to a lot of injuries to USC's offensive line. He's going into year 4. I don't think he'll ever be a starter for USC, barring injuries. This one makes sense. Carlin Jones, is this another?
I'm not stunned to see this one. I
Yeah,
think
hasn't
you
played
look
much.
like he hasn't played much, and frankly, it does feel like he's kind of getting passed up
Yeah.
by the two guys behind him in Floyd and Jakeem. Like to
And
me,
you got
he
guys
was
that like,
already there. He's behind those two freshmen, and now
yeah,
you got another crop of younger freshmen coming in that are going to be really good. I do feel like he's starting to get phased out, and whether that's his fault or not for the injuries,
yeah.
that's just kind of how this is shaking out a little bit. It seems.
Yeah, and this one's disappointing for me. The USC fans know I like this kid a decent amount when he was coming out of high school. And I do know USC was pretty aggressive on the NIL front for Carlin Jones. And so maybe that's one of those situations where, like, if you're going to be not even in the rotation next year, we can't really be paying you the kind of money we were paying you to come here out of high school, right? Because I think you're right. Jakeem Stewart's over him. Floyd Bicard's over him. G-Dab is series over him. And then you have guys like Tom, Jamian Winfield that very well might be in the rotation over him as well. And then you have a feeling that USC is going to make some portal additions at this position too. Didn't really see a clear path to the playing field. I guess for me, it was number one, my preconceived notion. I like this kid out of high school a lot. And then I would hear Lincoln Riley saying, hey, we think Carlin Jones is turning the corner, but his actions never really lined up with the words.
In this era, I don't. If you're not like starting to play a little bit as a year two guy, I
Yeah,
think like teams are
yeah.
going to start having to start look at you as like, well,
Yeah.
you can't be kept on the roster then. Like
Yeah.
you need to be impactful as a junior.
And Dill, it's tough because it sounds cutthroat. I think it is, right? Like Chad Bowden's coming in and he's
when people are getting paid, it does change kind of the calculus on how you manage.
It's a business, right? And I don't think, and I'm not calling Carlin Jones dead weight by any means, but I think Chad Bowden's going to come in and say, like, we're going to look at these guys and we're going to say, all right, who are the guys that we think can play for us, and who are the guys that we don't think can play for us? And Dill, that often benefits the kids like Carlin Jones. Like maybe he just needs some opportunity to get on the football field. Maybe you can find that in another program, but it sounds like you ain't going to find it at USC in 2026. That's kind of my take on those. Again, the biggest surprise for me is Matai. I thought he had a chance to be a dude for USC next year.
It's always that to me. It's always, and again, like everybody loses that type of player, but that's always the disappointing one. The one that like you knew was kind of
in
year of development, and you just don't get to see it.
Yeah, that's probably the best way of putting it, right? And maybe this is not necessarily a USC thing. Maybe it's a Matai thing. Because don't forget, he did not commit to Rob Ryan, right? Committed to Coach Hines. And so maybe it's the guy that I committed to is no longer here. Maybe I want to go play somewhere else. Lock, right? I mean, I hand up, have not watched a ton of North Carolina football. Did not watch Bill and the boys in 2025 as much as I probably shouldn't have been watching them anyways. Did not watch UNC that much in 2025. I do remember this kid as a freshman at Washington in 2024, and I was incredibly impressed. I think the USC fans remember this kid. He's a St. John Bosco guy. He was playing as a true freshman against USC in 2024, was extremely active. Then he goes to UNC, plays nearly 800 snaps for them as a year 2 kid. He's only going into year 3. He has 1,000 snaps under his belt, led UNC in tackles last year, only missed 11% of his tackles. I don't know if you're going to get a top 100 NFL draft pick here, but you're getting a guy that's young, that's only going into year 3, has over 1,000 snaps under his belt, and is reliable. He can run, chase, tackle, find the football. We need more of that in this linebacker room. This is a name that would make a lot of sense. Bring him back to the state of California.
Yeah, I think adding that kind of steady hand, because even like Eric Gentry, as much as you loved what he did, it wasn't like a pure true middle linebacker. You probably didn't have that exactly in Eric Gentry. You had more,
and he also just did not give you like a ton of consistency from that position. There were some flash plays. We all saw that. but it wasn't like he's the most consistent football player we've ever seen.
Like,
We
this is
need
a
him.
position for sure that they could really use just a steady hand who pretty
Yeah.
much plays every snap, and you kinda know what you're gonna get every snap.
And is consistently fitting the run. He's not missing tackles. I don't need a guy that is going to be a top 10 NFL draft pick, but I need linebackers that I can trust, right? I think Kamari House is one of those guys. And again, he's young. He's only going into year 3. So there's that opportunity for him to get better. You go get a year 5 guy going into year 6 with a COVID year. Those guys aren't getting better. Kamari House might be still getting better. Here's another name, defensive line, Dylan Manuel. I think, and I got to watch this kid a little bit more. I was really impressed with what I saw with the PFF numbers. Played a decent amount of football. Love the body type. 6'1", 300 pounds, baby. Fire hydrant. Fire hydrant. And USC needs more of those guys that, hey, I'm going to play with low pads. I'm going to eat up some double teams, and I'm not going to get moved around off the line of scrimmage. I mean, I go back and say USC does not have those bodies. Keyshawn Silver will come up high. He get moved around a lot. Same thing with Devin Tompkins, at times with G-Day as well. We need a guy that, look, is Dylan Manuel going to go for 15 TFLs and 10 sacks? No, he's not that kind of game wrecker. But he's a guy that knows how to hold the line of scrimmage and be better. He's really good against the run, at least grades out really well against the run. I think USC needs a couple of these bodies. It's not super flashy. I think it makes sense for where USC is.
Yeah, the one thing I'm looking at with that defensive tackle room especially, do you think age is gonna play a big part? Because he's gonna come in with 2 more years of eligibility,
Yes.
and not to
Yes.
say like that is like a death knell, or if you will, but I'd be really surprised if USC is not focusing almost exclusively on juniors and seniors in the defensive tackle. Because right now, you're kinda gonna
Exactly.
get yourself in a bit of a log jam with what you're recruiting,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
where you wanna be. It's where USC has not been under most Lincoln Riley's
Sure.
tenure.
Sure. Sure.
But I am looking at age in this defensive tackle room. Do you think that's gonna play like a big
I don't. I see where you're coming from. I see where you're coming from. I don't, because we got to focus on guys who can contribute and who can play, because we just weren't good. When USC can stop the run, they can get after the passer. The problem is USC could not stop the run effectively against the best teams on their schedule. Give me some guys who can help us against the run, get us into those third and long situations where we can pin it back and get after the passer. You try Dylan Manuel off the field. I don't care on third and longs, because I don't think he's going to be a great pass rusher for you. But can he do the job on first and second down to get us into those positions? You look at Notre Dame and Illinois, Oregon. It's like running for 4 yards a carry, 5 yards a carry, never really getting into those third and long situations. Wide receiver. Here's a name that's intriguing. Former 5-star, Perry Thompson. I'll give you the T-box. I got my takes.
I would be very concerned with this type, and just this might be a general take. Like, again, he was year 2 guy, really struggled to find any consistency. It felt like Auburn wanted to give him some shots to make it happen, and he just didn't. This is the type of portal move that I think teams are gonna have to start getting more like, or like scrutinizing a little bit more. Like, when you're that talented out of high school and it's not really working out at your past stop, like, do you really feel like you're just gonna like flip the switch and make it work? Because it was not working at Auburn.
USC ain't Michigan. And what I mean by that, like, we are desperate, man. And we don't have a line out the door of wide receivers coming to play for us. USC ain't in that spot, right? I look at Perry Thompson. I completely agree with you. This was a flashy name out of high school, right? But has not put it
And
together
it's
in
going to
2
be a
years.
very flashy name in the portal, no doubt, because
Sure.
you know how talented he is, and he's probably
Yeah.
going to be ranked high. But he is one that I really wonder, are you like suddenly going to get something out of him that Auburn?
Look, in my opinion, and Perry Thompson may end up being a good football player, right? Because I think he kind of got a bad set of cards with that coaching staff and with the quarterback play that we saw at Auburn, right? I mean, just be patient, because there's going to be better wide receivers. I mean, I already look at Nick Marsh from Michigan State. That's a better name, a more proven name, who's also only going into year 3. Cam Coleman could come available. Ryan Williams could come available. I guess what I'm trying to say is, I think USC, with the offense and quarterback play they can offer to these wide receivers, they're in a good position to land some of the best in the country. Wait for the best in the country to come into the portal before we go out and have an early trigger with a guy like Perry Thompson. No, I think I think USC can swing a bigger stick when it comes to wide receivers because there's a massive opportunity here. And you can be a wide receiver one to come in immediately in one of the best offenses in the country with good quarterback play. There ain't many programs that can offer that. USC can. Last one here, we've been talking about cornerbacks, and man, there are some intriguing ones. I would take a look at those Oregon cats, like the Dakota Fields. I look at Jaleel Florence. More Jaleel Florence because I think he was a good football player before the injuries. And let's just be frank about it. Oregon's got 2 top 50 NFL draft picks there. That just because Jaleel Florence could not get on the football field don't mean he can't play. Ryan Strader is an interesting one. Another Auburn cat. Was awesome at Miami of Ohio for 2 straight years. Goes to Auburn. Struggles in the rotation. This is more of, I wouldn't mind. I think he would come in and be in the 2 deep and probably even start. Now, he's looking probably for a starting opportunity. I don't know if I love it, but I think it's worth mentioning.
No, and it's a position that, like, yeah, it's not just about starters for USC right now. Like, they
need bodies.
They need a room because last year it didn't feel like they had a
Yeah.
particularly well-functioning cornerback room. So it's like, again, Ryan Strader is not going to be the best corner available, but this would be the type of player that would make sense. Like, again, he'll be in the 2 deep. He's pretty dependable, not an all-star or anything or all-conference kind of guy.
Yeah.
But that's like USC needs that in that position because right now it's pretty bare.
Yeah, there are certain positions where USC can be really selective, like we talked about at wide receiver, and then there are certain positions where, hey, we gotta get some bodies in there that we think can play. Ryan Strader was a weird one because I remember reading the spring practice and fall camp. Like, we think the Auburn beat thought this kid could play, and then just only played 200 snaps. It was a solid rotational piece for a very good Auburn defense, but didn't play a ton. So I think there might be something.
That was a really competitive corner secondary room in general, though. Auburn's secondary, I don't know that they always played super consistent, but it was super talented.
Can I say one other thing? And I was thinking about this. We're assuming that these coaches make the perfect decisions. Like, I don't know if that's the fair assumption to make. Just because Ryan Strader was cornerback 4, like, maybe should he have been playing more? There's a lot of circumstances where guys didn't get on the field at one place, go to another place, and become better than the guys that they were behind at the previous school. I'm not saying this is the example here, but that is a conversation. I don't view some of these guys as just, like sloppy seconds who couldn't make it at Auburn. That was maybe a little bit of a disrespectful comment. I apologize. Close it out there. Appreciate you guys rocking with it again. To the USC fans, this is just the tip of the iceberg at this point, right? I mean, there are going to be a ton of names to talk about, ton of targets. We will break it all down, or at least do our best. Appreciate you guys. Talk to y'all later.